And we're back. This is going to be round 2. Who's that guy? Are we sitting up straight? Are we sitting up straight? Okay, okay.
Taller than me?
Yeah, I guess when we're sitting down. I got a longer torso. Let me get... Just kidding. That's
so much better. Great.
This is Bryce.
Hi.
He's going to say hello and tell us who he is.
Nice meeting you, everybody. My name is Bryce Platts. I am an avid Flesh and Blood player.
Nice.
Hi, Colin. Colin's in the booth. He just did a great job casting that last game. Yeah, I'm one of the local players here and a new addition to the Arcane Games and Events casting staff. Very excited to be here. Very excited to have a excuse to watch Flesh and Blood for 8 hours in a row and to talk to my good buddy Blake.
And you're qualified for Pro Tour Los Angeles.
That's correct.
You don't know which heavy hitter hero you're going to be playing in 2 months. What's that like?
It's a game of quiet introspection and looking for spoilers and weeding through a lot of Discord discourse sparked on by yourself, my good friend, about how terrible Brood is going to be.
No. No. It's going to be great.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I am still having my eyes on my dear sweet departed Lexi. Had to throw her name in there. And since then, I've really been digging Levia quite a bit. So I'm hoping that there's a piece in there for her. I'm also very excited about our next matchup, which features our dear friend of the show, Chris Iaali, who is going to be on Levia.
Whoa.
So stoked to see how he plays it because he is better than me at this game.
He's going to be up against Marcus Brown, one of our... Now he feels a little more local. He's been showing up to Tuesday nights every once in a while during the break.
Which is insane because of how far he lives away from our store, right?
That's
Isn't
what
he
I was
down in
wondering.
OC or something?
He's like halfway between San Diego and here. Marcus Brown is the Bravo specialist who dresses up like Oldham sometimes.
See, I haven't seen that actually.
Yeah, you got to see that sometime. Marcus, Bravo? Oh, Bravo moves now?
His hair moves.
Bravo never used to move. Maybe we did that.
Levia
impressive. Looks so creepy.
Levia's face moves a little more than is comfortable for my taste.
Yeah. And that's who you play on purpose. Wow.
Yeah, well, I'm rethinking that now.
Everyone is very excited. Everyone from San Diego / San Diego adjacent showed up with their humongous games jerseys. Seems like they're putting a little more thought into that this year of we're going to be a full-on team.
I think they want to intimidate out Team Honda Pilot, who has no merch, by the way. Probably doesn't need it, though.
Yeah. We're going to do Imposing Visage on turn 1. That's pretty freaking good if you're a Bravo fan.
Seems all right.
Because the best thing you could do is maybe dominate a Crippling Crush, but this is going to be the next best thing of I'm going to go grab Showtime, go get whatever card I deem the best against this matchup, and draw something else afterwards.
Pretty fantastic.
Pulverize.
Very, very stressful card to face.
Yeah, what does he mean?
What does he mean? What does he, the Pulverize, mean? He, the Pulverize, is a very strong attack from Guardian, which reduces the amount that the opposing player's first attack comes in for by 4, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
Which is a pretty good way to set up against Levia, who comes in with pretty massive attacks of her own.
And then we're going to go ahead and make a Seismic Surge.
Arsenal pass.
So now that card in our arsenal only costs 9. What's going to be great about Showtime is you're going to draw a card at the start of your turn. So no matter what Chris can really do, unless you have a Command and Conquer, you're probably going to get Pulverized next turn.
Obviously starting off with the Scab Skin Boots, because he's got a full grip, oftentimes Levia is going to have to roll some... Oh no, he rolls the 1. That will end Chris's turn unless he pops these Gambler's Gloves. It's a little early to be going for it.
I feel like you kind of have to pop Gambler's Gloves and just live your life without doing this stuff. But he's going to Arsenal. Yeah. That's the world champ almost difference. And we'll see what happens. Pulverize is going to come across, and there may be enough resources in hand, unless he drew 4 reds, to even dominate this as well.
Or send a pummel if he's got that in hand.
Kale in the chat, he's a big Bravo fan. We're going to be... using our Seismic Surge, make another Seismic Surge. How many blues are in that? That's all of them. We're going to dominate, Pulverize.
Absolutely disgusting. There's going to be so much damage coming down on Chris Iaali.
And now if you're a Bravo fan, you're kind of wondering, why do my games not do this? Like, I have this deck built for 2 years now. I've never done that in my entire life, but you got to put in the reps and show up to have good stuff like this happen. Because now, no matter if Chris rolls a 6 or not, that first claw isn't going to do anything. That first command and conquer is only going to come in for 2. That first swing big is going to be a swing small for 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is not what you want to see as Levia. You really want to be chipping down the Bravo's life total and making them make really difficult block decisions just because you're sending so much damage. Pulverize completely negates that game plan.
You hate to see that. This is a claw.
This is a
it's
claw
doing nothing.
for 0.
This is not a claw. It's Deadwood Rumbler.
He doesn't even give Marcus a chance to block the attack for 0. That's interesting.
And if you're playing Deadwood, yeah, just combos. Marcus is like, I need to fill my graveyard up because I have Bravo
Sometimes you
blood
just gotta
debt.
let your opponent make the mistakes, right?
I know that from doing our Raiden for 0 and doing the look at your opponent and hope they get scared.
I love it. I think you've done that move in quite some time.
There's no pummel for a claw though, so you know a 0 claw is probably good enough.
Exactly.
Iaali's maybe having really bad luck because he's got his claws backwards.
Oh,
I don't like that at all.
Yes, absolutely. I would definitely put them out in the opposite
Proper
order.
order,
Yeah, exactly. Because right now I believe Levia is holding on to the claw ends, and the wrist straps are much less effective against your opponent.
No wonder they're coming in for 0. We are seismicking pretty much every turn, which is a great way to fix your math with Bravo. This is debilitate. And that's one where we're going to, I believe, do like kind of a pulverize effect of -2 to their next attack. So that's a full block. It may be a reset for Iaali of I need to figure out what's really going on here.
Oh, devastating.
And then
Here comes the pummel.
everything gets worse. So Iaali's turn is just going to not happen.
But joke's on Marcus because Levia really wants a lot of cards in their graveyard, right? It's like facing off against the Dromize who are like, doesn't matter, I'm making Ash.
If you're here, Iaali's definitely got him right where he needs.
Yeah, exactly. If anybody can pull something like this out, it's Chris Iaali, though.
Right. Why do you think Chris is on Levia? I know you just said it's a pick you're thinking. What do you think about this hero is being exciting to Chris?
I think her numbers are just so tempting, right? I mean, what other hero can send a 2-card 9 pretty consistently, right, with Endless Maw? What other hero can make effective use of Blood Rush Bellows as much as her, right? I mean, like, it's pretty regular to put together a Blood Rush Bellows turn that is over 20 damage. Add in an Art of War and a Slithering Shadowpede banish, the numbers just get insane, right? Obviously, you pay for it in a big way because you are constantly out racing blood debt. You are constantly at the behest of your own hero killing themselves. So there's good trade-offs for that, and also a lot of tension, which I honestly find really exhilarating when I play the hero.
You said behest. You said exhilarating. I see why you're a brand new commentator here.
I am going for the maximum number
crazy.
of syllables, and I'm going to burn out by the end of this game.
Holy crap. I want to play Levia after that. Now here's a Scabskin roll. I don't know what he rolled, though. That was a quick grab.
It probably wasn't a 1 because he's preparing to play something and he hasn't gotten rid of Gambler's Gloves.
This is one of those Slitherpedes. It's not being played from Banish, though.
So the hope was probably to roll, get 2 action points, send a Claw, send a Slithering Shadowpede.
Interesting. Here's 6. I think Marcus, anytime you're above, like, you don't want to get Blood Rushed. Blood Rush can do 24 damage from Levia. So as long as you're above 24, you're fine, or no?
Well, ostensibly, unless you're greedy and you want to hold on to all those cards with lethal looming in front of you, I mean, Bravo is a really good blocking hero, and Marcus has not used a single piece of armor yet, really making good use of all of his cards. So you have to remember that Bravo is still up effectively 10 life beyond what we see here. So Chris is still facing down a pretty scary hero on the other side. And there's a namesake card in Spinal Crush with 2 floating.
It's dominated from the hero power.
Still threatening a nasty pummel, if that is in fact in Marcus's arsenal.
And the pummel's going to happen because you can't... The flesh bag helps you get around pummel, but not if the pummel's in your arsenal.
Exactly.
So that's not going to happen. Anytime you use the Carrion Husk to get around this, we just keep the pummel for next time instead.
Yep.
So Marcus has put Chris in a, no matter what you do, I'm going to make it a rock in your shoe.
that rhymed. Expertly done, my friend.
Whoa, now we see why I'm a commentator, too.
That's why you've been here a couple times, I think.
We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two, you know?
I'm paid by the syllable, you're paid by the
Oh,
rhyme.
my goodness. I got to start writing that down then.
Chris really thinking about this block a lot. He's probably wondering about Schrodinger's pummel sitting in that arsenal. And there it is.
There.
So devastating to see for somebody who's been on the wrong side of this so many times.
Right. And it is kind of I need you to prove it, but also I need to make sure I don't go below 13 or my Huss does nothing.
So Chris goes down to the fabled 13.
But Huss sticks around if it's exactly 13. That's always a situation where I'm like, I need to read the card to make sure.
Yes, it
but
does
it doesn't.
stick around.
Oh, that's a huge misplay by Iaali.
At the beginning of your turn if you're at 13 or less life.
That sucks. As soon as that 14 went to 13, I feel like everyone at home just went, oh, Lord.
So Chris, I mean, not only is he rolling dice every single turn, he really, really went for the bet that the pummel was not in the arsenal because he knew it was going to reduce him down to that really miserable 13 life on Levia, lose his husk, get 0 value out of it, possibly negative value if he takes any damage from Blood Debt.
And I don't know if it's an if. I think it's a win.
Yeah, here he comes with Writhing Beast Hulk. This is going to banish 3 cards from his graveyard. Hopefully turn off that Blood Debt and make the sting from losing his Carrion Husk not as bad.
And what does it mean to writhe?
What does it mean to writhe? I believe writhing is somewhat of a gyrating movement, if I'm not mistaken, which is...
Like worms writhe or something?
Yeah, I believe worms writhe, which is weird because this is a very intimidating looking card, and you don't really expect writhing to be that intimidating of a motion. I believe Cardi B writhes quite a bit,
oh my
if I'm not mistaken.
Not Cardi B.
She's a professional writher.
I don't know why we're checking the arsenal, maybe just to bluff Sigil or something.
So not only did Chris find a 6, he found 3 Blood Debt cards. So now he's sitting at 4 Blood Debt, which is looming ever closer to killing him.
How do we have to, as a Levia player, do you have to tell your opponent you have the demi-hero, or how does that work?
I'm actually not sure what the judge ruling is on that. I believe it just kind of sits in your sideboard.
It's a surprise of like...
I believe so. That being said, nowadays, if you're playing Levia, you have it in your sideboard. I don't think it would be a surprise to anybody, and most players are going to be expecting one of those transformations to be relevant in the game.
And this is Starstruck. This is a great new card for Bravo, but honestly, Brute is one of the heroes that I could block with 1 card and still get over it because my cards come in for 6.
Exactly. Sometimes even more. I mean, Swing Big and
Swing Big.
The Swing Big.
And
no, there's also
a red smash.
Hungering Slaughter Beast is one of them.
I know all the Reinar ones. I didn't want to say the Reinar ones because it doesn't matter if there's no Alpha Rampage getting pinched here or played here.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them play the 7 damage smash either.
There's also a Graveling Growl in Levia's arsenal. I'm sorry, not his arsenal, in a potential deck list
Levia players.
Have to be careful not to...
Bag of Tricks?
Bag of Tricks. I like that.
That was what they called the arsenal first, was Bag of Tricks.
Yeah.
And then they were like...
And then they were like, that's a little bit too New Zealand of a term
There's no magician heroes. They're all wizards.
A little more relatable, a little more international.
I'm kind of going based off how many groans I can have the peanut gallery here, dude. We're up to 6 on this match. I love it. So we went down. We took 5, so we can play things that are 6 or higher. That's a 6 roll. We're going to love to see that if you're Team Iaali here. 3 action points. So if we're playing the Tome, the Evil Tome,
no, generally speaking, we won't play the... Yeah, you could do that. That's an interesting choice.
That's in the Bag of Tricks.
No, yeah, 100%. It's not in the arsenal, though.
Is it in the deck list, the DRS?
Absolutely not.
No,
I can tell you without looking at the deck list.
The deck registration sheet.
It is kind of a bummer that he rolls the 6 here because Mandible Claws, which is usually what you want to use when you have extra action points, can't be used because of the Starstruck. Starstruck has hit for 5, which means that he can't swing anything under 5. So instead, here comes Boneyard Marauder. This is going to banish 3 cards from his graveyard.
Even if he Blood Rush, it doesn't let you do it because it's base.
Correct.
What's written on the card.
Correct. Chris, I'm sure, knows that going into this turn. He's probably only trying to use 2 of those action points Generally speaking, that 6 is kind of an icing on the cake, right? You really just want to hit that above 50% probability that you get 2 action points instead of ending your turn or getting 1.
And now here's the civic steps. And this is something I've been a little bit worried about for all the Bravo fans, is civic steps does block 3, but it's an agility token basically for your opponent. It's not basically an agility. It is just a quicken.
Mm-hmm.
So now, basically, anytime Chris wants it, he has a 4 to start his turn on his scab skins of, okay, well, I'm just going to use it right now and play swing big because it's always better to just swing for 8.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very powerful turn where Marcus is like, cool, I blocked with all my stuff and I'm probably still going to take 8. But there's no place for that sentence to go. So...
Well, but Marcus is still holding on to a full grip.
Yeah, so
right?
it's like,
And
I can dominate you and you're toast.
And a Bravo with a full grip is a very scary thing to be facing down. Marcus has probably just been sitting here waiting for an opportunity to throw the fridge in front of Chris's big turn so that he can send a dominated Spinal Crush, Crippling Crush, whatever, when Chris is already at 8 health and basically Axe's life total, make it so that he can't banish any cards from his graveyard, let him kill himself from there.
True. The Blood Debt will do the rest unless Chris Iaali reaches over to his deck box and grabs a legendary card out of thin air and says, turn off my Blood Debt forever and heal back up to 8.
It could happen, but not for some time yet because Chris is sitting on 6 Blood Debt.
Oh, you have to get to 13.
He needs to get to 13 Blood Debt, which is so scary because at any point, you just have a guillotine over your head the entire time you're doing that.
So I forgot about the 13 clause.
So you can't turtle up. You can't just block with all the cards in your hand until you get to that 13 because at a certain point, you are sitting at lethal for yourself.
And you can see the Grandeur of a Lie. That's going to pitch and make a Seismic Surge to make another Seismic Surge. We're going to Crater Fist. We're using the sentence on Crater Fist.
Isn't that absurd?
It's going to be 11 Dominate instead of 9.
Yeah, no wonder Marcus held on to all of his cards. Oh, I'm so stressed for Chris right now.
How many cards are in his pitch zone? 1, 2, 3, 4. Guess I could have done that, but we're going to block 5 of 11.
Getting no value off the Intimidated trigger from Scowling Fleshbag.
Go to 2. That's scary. Very scary.
And because of Spinal Crush has crushed, Chris is only able to play one action.
So he needs to have the card that says, I can look and banish a card. Or Dread Screamer.
Which you might say, oh, Shaden Death Hydra, this new tech. That
or we're going to scab skins, and that could get around this if I...
Oh, devastating.
Or I just die. If
He's
on scab
crack the
skins...
gloves here, right?
I don't know what's going on anymore. You have to roll a certain thing on scab skins to even have... You have to get an extra action point to even get back to 0. Because you got crushed, right?
He did get crushed.
He got hella crushed.
Spinal Crush just says things can't have
6
go
damage,
again.
Yeah. Which... Okay. So even if you roll a 2, you're fine. Because you gain a... Okay.
Yeah.
It's to get an extra action, you'd have to roll a 4 or higher.
Correct.
Which isn't... There's something about that makes more sense of what I'm thinking.
Because the scab skin activation doesn't have go again on its own.
Got it. That's the important part to remember.
Imagine if it did. Oh my gosh.
That's the world I want to live in.
Heavy Hitters is right around the corner.
We're blocking 2. We're taking some. But ultimately, we're just thinking about what does it take for me to dominate and get these last 2 points of damage. Because if there was a defense reaction in Arsenal, he probably would have played it last turn. So it's kind of green means go for Bravo right now.
He does have a Fate Foreseen in hand, which could make sending a lethal attack a little more difficult. What else? We see a Showtime. Got a couple blues in there. I think it might just be an Anothos play. Oh, no. Here we go. Oh, it's a Devastating Buckle. Next attack's going to have Dominate.
This is Dominate.
Here comes Anothos.
Says, I don't even want to hear anything more. If you say the word Dominate, that's enough for me. I think that was something where Marcus drew extremely well.
That turn 0 was absolutely devastating.
And Chris Iaali forgot about the line of text that says 13 or. And so if he carrying Husks, yes, he still gets some point of damage, pummels, and gets that card out. But Chris Iaali has 6 more health right now. And we're at 10 to 8. Obviously, it's a little different of how each turn goes, but Chris has a little bit more room to breathe and try different things if he plays Carrion Husk. Not playing Carrion Husk is awful.
It's really, really rough.
That's a good way to lose. Maybe this is a good lesson for Chris to learn in our local area, so whenever he does play on March 24th, it doesn't happen to him there.
Because what's happening on March 24th again?
Los Angeles Professional Tour.
Thank you. I forgot about that.
Dude. And you're going to have a baby around there. So.
I am having a baby around there.
Unless you're not telling people on chat yet. But.
I hadn't yet, but chat, I feel like we've gotten to know each other well enough at this point. I am having a baby at the end of March. I'm really hoping that it remains at the end of March so I can go play Pro Tour.
Nice. I did let everyone know that you will be naming your baby after whoever wins Pro Tour Los Angeles.
That's amazing. So Thank you for mentioning
that.
The
only way that you could name your baby after yourself is if you win 50 grand as well.
That's correct. I'm still gunning for Blake Meyer to win Pro Tour Los Angeles so that I can name my child Blake Meyer.
Platts Jr.
Blake Meyer Platts.
Oh, I like that.
It's got a ring to it, doesn't it?
Do you got a nursery color?
That's so funny. That is like a really common question, actually. No, we don't. Bottom line, we live in Los Angeles. Our place is too small to have a nursery. So it's kind of just going to be wherever the bassinet is.
Nice.
Maybe we can put up a couple like baby blue flats around the crib or something so he can have a nursery wherever he goes.
Have you been on Etsy.com to look up plushies for your favorite Flesh and Blood heroes to start your kid off with the best card game in an appropriate for their age manner?
That's a good question, actually. Is this game even too obscure for people to make stuff of it on Etsy?
I'm sure there's some like chibi looking, or is that the right way how to pronounce it? Chibi teddy bear of like Prism with wings on it or something. You could pretend it's a Precious Moments angel and have precious moments with your baby.
Yeah, that sounds nice, especially given how many precious moments I've had with Prism over the years. I think of those moments as anguish, personally. But I'm not a Prism player, so there you go.
Precious anguish or anguish moment?
Precious anguish. That's a pretty good facsimile for what life is all about, don't you think?
Oh my gosh.
Precious anguish.
You are bringing an elevation that I've never seen, you know?
Elevation, that's a lot of syllables.
Here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at some other heroes. I know we did our Brute earlier, so even though maybe we're not Guardian players, I do Warrior sometimes. But let's start with Betsy.
Let's start with her.
This is Betsy's skin in the game. It's Bravo's hero power, but instead of an action, we can get around some Prism BS with this.
Also Spinal Crush, for instance.
True. Oh. Also War. What is it called? Warmongers? That gets around this too.
That's true, yeah.
So all this is going to happen like it's a activation on Dorinthia's shoes instead of any other shoes.
We love to talk about Dorinthia's shoes, don't we?
Right. I didn't mention Dorinthia in respect to you yet, but we'll get there. If you pay 2, this attack gets +1 and overpower. So that's something that's pretty gross. Of anytime you wager, now we can like always make sure we have the token coming, and that's something that I think if you do see a gold usage for Betsy, whether it's Double Down or something else, this will be something that's super good for this.
Absolutely. A lot of the discourse around overpower is that it's kind of dominate light. Do you feel that that is the case, or is it actually a pretty significant keyword?
I think what's interesting about it is there's certain heroes where if you're playing Arachne, Uzuri, let's just say Assassin or Warrior, overpower says 1 action card. So now if I'm playing Shreds, if I'm playing attack reactions, maybe Assassin and Warrior are natural enemies for Betsy of my closing damage doesn't really close on those heroes as much as someone else.
Which the other end of that is the +1, right? Because that, depending on how the rest of her cards look, depending on how her math works, that could help leak that damage anyway, right? Despite the fact that it doesn't hit.
And if everybody starts showing up with block cards that have wager on them, that'll be another way to stop. Like, you thought you were doing 9, I'm going to do a block card. a card from hand that's an action, and a piece of 2 equipment. 4 plus 3 plus 2 is 9. And now your bet big with added 1 and overpower, 9 versus 9. Too bad, so sad.
Too bad, so sad.
Plus,
finger guns.
anytime you have defense reactions, they get around overpower. I just realized that.
Yes,
they're
100%.
also whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and say not goodbye forever, but goodbye for 25 seconds. And somebody's going to interview our latest winner, Marcus.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm here with our latest winner, Marcus Brown, who just took down Christopher Iaali, which is no small feat.
No, it isn't.
Yeah. How scary is it going up against Chris Iaali?
Well, first of all, it was scary to be called up to the feature match area.
Always is.
I'm still shaking a little bit, but also coming against Chris because second place in the first Worlds and a notorious, like, a good player on all decks.
Yeah.
Like, he's not like a one-trick pony, like me.
And what are you known for being a one-trick pony on?
Well, originally when I started to learn the game and went to like armories, I started off on Rhinar, then went to a bit of Dory because a lot of Dory was going around and Crucible was new as like an unlimited print. And then I saw Bravo originally from like pulling Welcome to Wrath packs. I'm like, this guy looks like a cool pirate, very charismatic. And I saw his hammer and like, after playing a bit and understanding more of how the hero functions, it's definitely like a gameplay style that I really like. I play Jund in Magic in Modern, so it's very much my speed.
And so he also feels very much like he's close to home, like he's from jolly old England, you were saying, yeah?
A little bit, yeah. We had that discussion before we went live.
Yeah, absolutely. And you imagine him, I don't know, I guess coming from your hometown, perhaps?
I don't know about that. Maybe something like a bit more countryside England, because I'm from London. So I don't know about the big city. That would be like a Bright Lights hero.
It would be odd, right, to have kind
Like,
of
yeah.
like a bardish guy with a hammer strolling
He's
around
like
in London.
he's like, what would you say? A mix of like a cleric, paladin, bard.
I love it. And how did the cleric paladin bard vibe work against Levia, Shadowborn Abomination?
I mean, really, my MO in this matchup, because I'm not running Fist or Shield in this list, is just to roll harder than they do.
And you certainly did. That turn 0 setup was amazing.
Yeah, because when they put you to go first, they're like, right, all he's really going to do is make a surge and pass. So, considering that I do have the imposing Showtime package in there, I'm hoping I see, any of those 5 cards. Cast Showtime, go tutor up something big, make a surge beforehand if I need to, and just send something really big and assure basically the dominate, because you will hope to draw a blue off Showtime, force their armor early, and they've got none left to bargain with when they're like sub 20 life.
Exactly.
It's important.
Exactly. And it is so important for Levia to be in a healthy life total by the time they start banishing those cards, right? Because especially against Bravo, who can at any time send a massive dominated attack at you, can just force you to kill yourself, right?
Kill yourself faster.
So how much of that plays into your strategy against Levia? Like, are you constantly thinking about their blood debt when you're making decisions, or no?
It does factor in, because more so now that they have the demi hero, because they're going to flip into consumed. And that means that they're just going to banish and self-mill end step. So it's less of a I can fatigue and count on like them losing life if they whiff, and more like if I can, basically try and find them on a smaller turn, something that wasn't quite good enough to like inch themselves over the finish line, then that's my pinch point to like send it really hard and hit him where it hurts.
All of which was pretty irrelevant, because the amount of times I saw him have to pass back to you with a full grip and an arsenal was really intimidating. Because that, I mean, especially coming from being a Lexi main, that is like the most scary thing I can think of, is a Bravo with a full grip. You just know your next turn is going to be absolutely...
There's a reason they keep a full hand, and it's to send something mean and menacing, and that will either shrink your hand or put you in a position where you play on one action point, say, and when Bravo is putting you to play at his speed, that's when he's in control.
100%, when he's stringing together those massive crush attacks, right? One really interesting point in this game was the fact that a lot of the times, especially when Bravo is facing up against aggro matches, you kind of are like slipping little bits of your fridge in, your fridge being your suite of equipment blocks throughout the match, right? In this case, you definitely seem to kind of smell blood towards the end there, chuck everything in front of one of Chris's attacks, and then just absolutely decimate him. When you drew up that hand, were you immediately like, okay, this is the time I go for it, this is when I throw the fridge in, or...
Yeah, there's a few decision points. Like, it's also because he had also given, well, not he given, he had lost Husk because he told me after the game that he didn't see that I was floating 2 in addition to
that's
threatening Pummel.
devastating.
So I did that on purpose because you, like I said, like you force them to use just 1 card and armor by dominating and just like keeping a bigger hand so that you know you can assure the hits, so to speak. Because a lot of the time you'll keep just enough to dominate. And like if people have enough armor or something parked in Arsenal like a defense reaction, like it feels bad because they have it.
Totally.
And if you know with information given on like a previous turn, I think it was like I knew his Arsenal wasn't a defense reaction because he would have given it to this. So knowing that, I go into the next turn cycle, basically do it again, start chunking his life down. Yeah.
And that was such a tragic point in that game, too, because, I mean, if there's anybody in this room that knows the math of this game, it's Chris Iaali, right? And so when Blake and I were watching it, he was taking a lot of time on that block, and Blake and I both having the calm behind the desk, not sitting at the feature table. We're sitting there like, that's 2 floating, that's a pummel in the arsenal, this is going to hurt. And of course, bringing the life total down to exactly 13 and losing the Husk, like, were you positive at that point? Like, I've got this game, I can take a chill pill, or were you still kind of on edge?
You can never lay off the gas. It's more that you just need something that's good enough to send, like the buckle in hand, like anything that reads dominate or you can dominate yourself, just to get yourself over the finish line will do. Sometimes the hand doesn't allow for it, and in those cases, you hope more often that like you send Anathos for like a pummel swing where you catch them on reactions.
Yeah.
So you only swing with a single blue and like threaten 4, and they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
Now I have to play the guessing game on pummel again.
Well, I mean, if there's anything to be learned, that was a classic Bravo doing Bravo things game. And that's kind of the ideal scenario, I think, whenever you sit down in Bravo's seat. Let's see. We have one question in chat here. Marcus, how many pummels do you eat for breakfast?
3 reds exactly.
And does that count the Schrodinger's pummel or no?
No, I've got the shirt.
I think we've got to show the shirt real quick.
Right
Yeah. There we go. It's kind of hard to see because he's sporting
put
that
my
San
jersey
Diego
over it
jersey.
this
Yeah,
morning.
he's got to represent for the team. But I love the fact that you show up to every single event with that Schrodinger's pummel shirt on.
I put it on specifically because I'm playing Bravo, but
Yeah, I also love the fact that you never take it off and that you shower with it. That's really impressive to me.
I'll probably stink by this point.
So we've covered the game pretty well. I think I would, before we let you go, I'd love to hear a hot take that you have, specifically about another really good players list, Michael Hamilton. What do you think of his Bravo list that he just took down Battle Hardened Cincinnati with?
Yeah, so I've got some notes, and it's something like there's a bit of, I wouldn't say like a split in the Bravo Discord or in the Bravo community, but it's more that like I definitely know the way he's playing the list is very clear cut, very calculated. He's got 6 crushes that are 4 costs, and he's running Tunic alone. So he's looking to send a 2-card 8 on a lot of turn cycles. I think just the way I prefer to play Bravo, because I tried that list and I tried some of the blue cutting, because in some matchups they cut down to like 33 blues and rely on the like Tunic 2-card hand, is that I ran into like triple and quadruple red hands when I'm not playing Eastrike in that matchup, and it's just like, oh, this is kind of a time walk on me. So I prefer to at least have like Hammer available, like Anathos upon me, not Titan's Fist, because there's other times where actually like you hold 1 blue because they gave you a bit of space and you've got nothing else to do with it apart from like, I don't know, pitch it away to Hammer, and sometimes it sits as a dead card where, in my opinion, it would do better sometimes as like a Surge and a Swing and Anathos for 6. And I guess that's kind of it. The one thing I really do like about Hamilton, and like I guess the Wolfpack at large's list, is that running Tunic into more matchups, especially the Mechanologist, I feel. So you can be the beatdown. Definitely against like Tekla Dash Inventor Extraordinaire, and arguably Max as well. Because when you're playing against Dash IO, you want a bit more armor, I feel, and you want the 7 power Terra Sunder in my eyes as well, because she is so card hungry, and she does not block well with all those items, arguably.
Yeah.
But that's
Absolutely. I think Flesh and Blood is so much that kind of game, right? Like
there's not a one size fits all.
Exactly,
at
and
any
you make
point,
deck building decisions based on like what has burned you in the past.
Mm.
At least I certainly do. Like I'll make card inclusions, card exclusions based on like, oh man, like I had this massive game. I ended up drawing this card. I did not like it. And so I just like to find cards that I always like to see, right?
Yeah.
And so for you, like the way you build the deck, does it just feel more consistent, or is it that you can go like harder, higher, faster, stronger sometimes?
There's a little bit of that, as you've seen in the showcase game, but it's definitely like I can count on my deck to give me the blues when I need them. I can count on it to give me the 3rd blue for dominates on key big crushes. And sometimes, yeah, like you see, I pop Crater Fist and send it dominated because it's a taller number. It's like a tiny slogism in that way. And you don't have to run the risk of like running blue pummel, which is like a similar effect.
Which was absurd, by the way. I think I've maybe seen that gauntlet broken for its effect like twice.
I break it quite often because I do
Yeah.
the same thing. It's
Amazing.
like when I know they have more armor and they have like maybe something in Arsenal that I don't know if it's a reaction or not, I say, right, I'm going to ask you the question. Let's send it. Do you have the reactions and armor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Make him have it, so to speak.
Are any of the new Guardians coming out in heavy hitters tempting you away from your jolly old?
As soon as I saw Betsy, I was very excited.
Is that right?
I want to play Thump in her. I've been dying to play Thump in Constructed because it's mainly kind of a fringe card that you play in Aria Limited or Commoner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you can play it in Oldhim in Commoner, and you can do Earthlore Thump for like, if it's both reds, like 11 dominate on hit to scar 2 for 4 cards.
So do you feel as though her hero text is kind of like a worse version of Bravo, or are you in a different camp where it could actually be better?
I definitely feel like it's emblematic of the design steps they're taking with like new hero design philosophy. But I wouldn't call it a worse Bravo effect, because a very subtle thing that you can like pay attention to is the fact that Bravo cares about 3 costs or better for the dominate, and it doesn't matter if they're generic. So he could do that in limited. Betsy doesn't care. As long as it wagered, you can pay 2 to overpower and +1.
Which makes you wonder if there are going to be some non-attacks that make attacks that don't wager on their own do some wagering. Then that could be a really fearsome ability.
The one that has been like a small attack, small so to speak, that's like a wager. You can do it with Anathos if you have 2 blues and a money where your mouth is. Then you pay the 2 resources extra to overpower with Betsy, and it's a 10 overpower hammer swing on hit, make a gold.
Seems all right.
You can do worse for 3 cards, because that's better than Red Glacial or T-Quake. So
yeah, a lot of exciting things coming out of heavy hitters, I think, and we know so little of the card pool. Well, thank you so much, Marcus. This has been excellent.
It's been a pleasure. I've been trying to not shake like I was during my feature match.
There's no way I'm more scary than Chris Iaali. There's no way.
Even though he's nice and friendly to chat to, like between games and everything, it's still kind of like
he's a swinger, man.
Yeah.
And, I'm sorry, not a swinger. He's a brawler, shall I say? One of the sweetest guys, but also one of the scariest.
We've got a lot of those where like it's a stone cold face when you're playing, but then after the game's over, it's like, oh hey.
Another one that comes to mind is Players champion Anthony Pham, who is one of the sweetest people to talk to. But if you sit down and play against him, oh my gosh, that is an intimidating man to play against.
His smile goes and he goes,
yeah. He goes, any bucks? Nope. All right, moving on. You're dead. Goodbye.
Die to Riptide.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much. Best of luck for the rest of the day.
Okay, I'm going to need it.
Cheers. We'll be back after a short
everybody.
break, hopefully with a meta breakdown. Cheers, everybody.